He said that Jesus Christ has risen, and he is the open door.
Well, how you doing, America? And welcome to the Cajun Conservative Show, where we talk about life, we talk about liberty, and we talk about the pursuit of happiness. And yes, your friendly, good-looking Cajun is here to show you that Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good day, good week, wherever you are located and listening on the platform that you desire to listen on. I'm happy to be with you here today. I'm happy that you are here with me today, ladies and gentlemen. I love every single one of you. I'm going to quote my good friend Scott Ford, heart bubbles. Mwah! To every single one of you. I don't have, I think I have the effect. I'm not sure on this thing, but I'm just gonna, I love you. So hope you're having a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting week, to say the least. And we were gonna cover it all, but please, before we do that, I have to ask you a favor. Can you please hit the subscribe button and or follow button on the platform you are listening on? If that would be the YouTube channel, or if that would be the Rumble channel, or Apple, Google, or audio platform, Amazon, all them good stations. I say stations, all them good podcast platforms that we are on, and we have the privilege being on by Anchor for allowing us to do this. I love Anchor. Anchor's a good is a good platform for podcasters. And is everything perfect? Of course not. You're not going to have a perfect platform, but they give us the opportunity to go ahead and get out. And I want to thank Anchor and Spotify for what they do. But we're on all these platforms. And so I went ahead and I talked about it last week. Last episode we were together about how Spotify shot me all the insight analysis, and we had some good numbers. He grew in 2022, and 2023 is around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. This episode is going to drop on Monday, the 5th of December of 2022. We are only 4 short weeks away from New Year's Eve, and I'm excited. 2023, I'm looking for great and better things. And I'm just excited to see what God has in store for this show, and I'm ready. I think I'm ready. And look, I want you to pray with me as well, because I know there's a lot of Bible believing Christians that listen to me, and I want to ask you a favor. Please pray that the Lord exceeds this show. But one way to exceed this show and to expand this show is you, the listener. If you share, if you go ahead and send out to friends and family. Do that. That helps out. You subscribe. That helps out. I know a lot of people that say, well, we listen to it, but we never subscribe. No, subscribe. That helps out. And it more subscribers, more Anchor and Spotify and Apple and Google and Amazon and Rumble and YouTube will go ahead and bring it out there. The same thing with TikTok, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a TikTok, at the Cajun Conservative Show, Go ahead and check us out. I've been posting on there and been getting some good results. Been getting a lot of good feedback. And it's just clips from the show that I go ahead and I find that I say something that I think is iconic. And I just got out of YouTube jail for a video. So I'm back on that. We're working on YouTube side. We want to see what we could make YouTube better. So, but let's go ahead and share the show, ladies and gentlemen. And that would help me out tremendously. But you, the listener, this is why I do this. I want to expose lies and introduce you to the truth. There's not a lot of people doing that, ladies and gentlemen. And that is politically and spiritually. And it's sad. It's sad that we're in a state of this country to where pastors don't speak the truth. They don't speak against sin. They don't speak about things that are wrong in this nation. And it's wrong also for politicians to do the same thing. They let things slide, they let things go, and they don't present the truth. If your name is if you claim yourself to be a politician, you have lied in your life. And that's one reason why a lot of people ask me, well, why don't you run for something? Well, I thought about it, but I don't want to be labeled a politician. I don't try to lie. And it's just not in my DNA. Before we start onto the story, I remember a story about Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan was walking in a cemetery one day, and Ronald Reagan found a tombstone, and it said, "Here lies an honest man and a politician." Ronald Reagan looked at Nancy Reagan and said, "Look, Nancy, two men buried in the same grave." It's impossible, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. But this is what we're here for. And I love you guys. Thank you for your support. I know some people have been here from day one, and I appreciate your support. So, all right. So let's go ahead and talk. Let's talk about the government. You're like, Isaac, every episode you talk about the government. Well, this time I think the government has went too far. So we reported last week how the Senate was in a fight to avoid a freight rail strike. Now, so this came out of the blue, in my opinion. So I think it's the union workers and the railroads. They were talking. So a lot of these railroad people, they unfortunately they don't get that many sick days, according to the union workers. I heard that if someone wanted to take off, it was near impossible. So they didn't have sick days. They didn't have personal days, and normal businesses do this, ladies and gentlemen. If a company's big enough, they go ahead and tell their employees, look, you have a week of sick days, you have a week of vacation or personal days, whatever you want to use them for. You just let us know 2 weeks, a month in advance. I've worked for big retailers. I've worked for small companies, and majority of the time, companies give this to people. This is showing courtesy to them for working for them. They don't have to do it, but at the same time, it is a good gesture. You know, a lot of people go and look at that when they go and try to find a job. They go and say, well, how many sick days I have or how many personal days I have, and the company usually throws that out as an incentive. So it is a good tool, but apparently, and there was some other things, but that was the thing that was lasting, that was holding out of the disagreement. And according to Politico, 4 out of the 12 unions involved had been holding out for additional paid sick days, making a strike possible as soon as December 9th. So this was going to happen Friday at the time of this recording. Because as I record, this is December 4th, at late at night. Doesn't say late at night, but December 4th of 2022 is the Sunday. On Friday, it would have had a strike, but it was 4 out of the 12 that were holding out because they didn't believe they were getting enough sick days. A lot of the things had come into play already. So now, what is this? What does this strike? What would this strike mean to America? Well, that would have meant that, according to Politico, that there would have been a water shortage. There would have been food shortages. There would have been a lot of shortages because it was. Let me go ahead and read because I just found it right here. It would have been critical for drinking water, food, and energy shipments that were set to be sidelined. If they didn't have these railroad workers, if they didn't have these people doing this for the railroad, we would have been running short on food and water. So I understand why the government was involved with this. I understand that the government is supposedly looking out for the American people. I agree that the government should stick their nose and say, hey, y'all need to make a deal. But this is the issue that I'm having with this legislation. Because on Thursday, which was December 1st, the Senate voted to avoid a rail strike. And it was voted by the Senate 80-15, with Rand Paul voting present to pass the bill that would impose the terms of the contract negotiated amongst the freight railroad and most of their unions in September. 4 out of the 12 unions involved have been holding out for additional paid sick days, making the strike possible as soon as December 9th. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be clear. I am not against the government telling these people, hey, y'all need to make a deal. What I am upset at is that the federal government of our nation went ahead and passed legislation to force these unions, these 4 unions that were holding out, to accept this deal. And of course, the government and everybody's all excited about this. Oh my goodness. Look, the government came in and saved the day. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not about saving today. It's not about that. And look, I understand the problems that would have came with a railroad strike. I think these railroad companies would have been like, all right, we need to get this done, because it wouldn't just been America hurting. It would have been these railroad companies hurting. These railroad companies would have lost millions and millions of dollars. So 9 out of 10, they would have done their job. They would have got a bill passed. But what did this big company do? Went to the Democrat-controlled Senate and the Democrat-controlled House and told them, please pass legislation to make this happen so we don't have to negotiate no more. And the federal government, and look, I'm just not going to go ahead and blame Democrats. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it was 80-15. Now, on the 15 side, it wasn't just Republicans that stopped this. I never thought I would agree with Bernie Sanders on anything, but apparently, as I always say, a broken clock is right twice a day. Bernie Sanders disagreed with this legislation. Bernie Sanders and a handful of Republicans went ahead and tried to put an amendment on here that would give the railroad workers more days off. And do you know what they did in the Senate? Republicans and Democrats? Oh, we're not going to pass that legislation. And it didn't pass. Because, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the whole thing. Look, I don't care who you are. If you're Republican, Democrat, I don't care. All parties care about big business. Because the railroad companies that were fighting the railroad unions went to the government, and the government sided with a big company. And look, I'm sorry. I don't care. If I hear you on the campaign trail, I will call you out, especially if you're not on the list. If you go in, I'm against big business. Baloney, you voted for the railroad strike to end. And look, I want to make sure all my listeners understand, I am not against the government getting involved with this. But the way they got involved with it, that's how I disagree. That's what I disagree. They should have went to both sides and said, listen, for the good of the country, make an agreement. Give a little, take a little. No, the government just say, hey, we're going to fix it. We're going to pass legislation to where these people can't have a strike. And if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, these 8 senators and the Congress people that voted for this violated these rail workers' First Amendment rights. What you mean, Isaac? What you mean? Because protesting and strikes are covered under the First Amendment. They have the right to protest. They have the right to strike, especially in unions. They have the right to go ahead and strike. Like I said, I understand the government's concerns. And especially the Biden administration, where there's a problem on every foot. They're warning of another oil crisis because of the oil reserves. Every time there's a crisis in the oil, Biden takes from the reserves, and the reserves at an all-time low, where Trump had at an all-time high. So the Biden administration don't want no more scandalous problems. They don't want no more shortages. They don't want none of that. And you have Republicans, oh well, we want to be for the people, but we want to make sure the government stays, or we want to make sure the country's all right. I don't understand that. I can imagine they're thinking the overall country compared to these few in the unions. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it's right that an American government, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, if you are in politics and you sided with this deal, you were wrong. Because you went ahead and violated people's First Amendment rights and the government overreach. Now, what are the problems with this? Well, what if there's another strike that's supposedly supposed to threaten the country? Does the government go ahead and say, hey, we're going to overreach again, and we're going to go ahead and pass legislation once again to stop the strike for the betterment of the country? And ladies and gentlemen, the founding fathers never, ever wanted government to have this much power. And look, I cannot just sit behind this microphone and criticize Democrats. I can't. Because, like I said, this was truly a bipartisan bill. I will say this. They worked, the establishment Republicans and the left-leaning Democrats did side to vote this bill in. But at the same time, you had Bernie Sanders and you had a number of Republicans. I think 12 Republicans and 3 Democrats, if I'm not mistaken, voted against this bill. So it was bipartisan on each side. They had Democrats that didn't like this either. And unfortunately, the railroad workers and the unions got screwed on this. Why do I say that? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the government stopped them from what they didn't get nothing. They got the deal. Look, hey, y'all agree with that? Only 4 out of the 12 unions did not agree with this. So we're gonna go with that deal. Like I said, why couldn't they add that amendment that the unions could get all the work? Because the railroad companies didn't want it, ladies and gentlemen. And look, I'm not against capitalism. I'm for capitalism. But all these politicians that were sitting in that Senate that they are talking, especially the ones that say, especially the Democrats, well, oh, come on, man. We're not for big government. I mean, we're not for big companies. We think big companies should pay their fair share. And not giving the people what they wanted. Now, we got some response from this, especially from Josh Hawley, Republican of Missouri. Let all sides have it on Thursday after the Senate vote to impose a new union contract on railroad workers. In several tweets and statements posted on Twitter, Hawley unleashed on the Biden administration, Democrats in the Senate and established Republicans who are voting to impose a new union contract on railroad employees. The Senate passed the bill 80-15 to put the contract into effect, avoiding a potential catastrophe rail strike, but the Senate blocked a provision that would have given workers 7 days of paid sick leave. What's wrong with that? Like I said, we can't give them that. I think they only have like 3 days right now. 3 days, that's it. What was wrong giving them 7 days paid leave? They passed every other stinking pork in a bill. Why couldn't they pass this? Because, as I said, the railroad companies didn't want it. Because, see, they got to make their money off of people. Now, on this note, this was released today, this was released December 3rd of 2022 by Town Hall. Rail workers call out Biden for showing his true colors. I've been saying this right now, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't Biden? I'm not for big business. I'm for the small man. This showed his true colors right here. Rail workers are calling out President Joe Biden after he forced the unions to accept the deal, claiming the president has no concerns for the quality of life of the workers. A week after Congress voted to avoid a railroad industry strike, rail workers are warning of a negative consequences Biden decision will have. Congress voted 3 measures relating to the rail workers and codified the agreement negotiated by the White House and 12 of the nation's rail unions. The director of communications for the Brotherhood of Maintenance and Well employees, Clark Baldwin, said that the union will not forget who had their backs when they fought for paid sick leave. The rail workers cautioned that Biden could face struggles in the next presidential election because Biden's slowly showing true colors. And ladies and gentlemen, on one note, the reason why he is showing possibly his true colors is because he knows he's not going to win in 2024, in my opinion. And ladies and gentlemen, Biden, I don't know what they're saying. Biden has been showing his true colors from the day one. That he isn't a moderate and he isn't for the American people, but that he's for himself and political power. With that being said, I'll be right back after this short break. How you doing, everyone? Isaac here, and I am with Phil Kennedy. He is the artist of the Center of the Door album that I have in my hand right here. And Phil, thank you for coming by, and just wanted to ask you a little bit about your album. And does this tell me a little bit of information what led you to make this album?
Thank you, Brother Isaac. I am a songwriter mostly, and firstly, I'm a preacher of the gospel. So the Lord has always blessed me, it seems, with a song, with a sermon. with a sermon for the song. And that seems to be how it started when I first started preaching. So, before you know it, you've written way more songs than you have sermons. And I just like to get a little group of them together now and then. It's the songs I've been singing as I travel to Mexico and this place and that and preach, Oklahoma or wherever else the Lord takes me. And I sing those songs. So I put a little CD together.
Hey, look, I'm going to be honest. It's a great album. Look, even my friend Scott Ford, I sent him a digital copy of it, and he loved it. He said he loved the album. He loved the way you sing. And it's a real big blessing. It's a good blessing for us, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I know that it's available in the digital world. It's available with me physically if you just message me or try to friend me on Evangelist Phil Kennedy Facebook. And the other information I'm sure you can give them.
Right. Well, we know for sure it's on Apple Music and it's on Spotify, where you can find the Cajun Conservative and Brothers Just Searching. Go ahead and look it up after you listen to our podcast. Go listen to a little bit of Phil Kennedy's album, Center of the Door. You'll be blessed. I promise you.
With your blood, cleansed and made us whole. Not one hoof, not one soul.
Kanye West cannot stay out of trouble. Welcome to the second segment of the Cajun Conservative Show for this episode. So yeah, Kanye West has been suspended from Twitter because this. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say what it is. This goofball, this man that is a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal apparently went ahead and put a Skiska and the Star of David logo together to show love. What an insult. Now this is coming in the wake of the Donald Trump dinner at Mar-a-Lago, which today Netanyahu said Donald Trump has whole responsibility and he is legitimizing anti-Semitics with this dinner. Now Donald Trump can say all he wants. I did not support it, and I can understand it. I'm not saying Donald Trump's a racist. I never said this. But just in light of it, it does not look good. But Kanye West tweets this, and Elon Musk goes ahead and bans him, which, look, I know people have freedom of speech, but sometimes you just need to keep your mouth shut, especially if you're a so-called supporter of President Donald Trump. This is not helping Donald Trump, by the way. Every time Kanye West opens his mouth right now, it is hurting Donald Trump. And unfortunately, Donald Trump trying not to be bullied, and I understand this as this man. He don't want to be bullied. But separate yourself from this idiot. This is somebody that is supporting Ron DeSantis going into 2024 if he decides to run. And I've said this, if Donald Trump wins the nomination, I would vote for Donald Trump. That is my opinion right now. But I think we got a lot more good people in there that can run. And Kanye West is putting a bad stain on Donald Trump. And look, I can hear some of my liberal friends right now. Well, Isaac, he already has a bad stain. I understand this. There are some things Donald Trump has done that I have openly called out on this channel. But ladies and gentlemen, you cannot have somebody in the corner. Donald Trump should go ahead and renounce Kanye West and say, look, he is a friend of mine, but the thing of it is his recent actions, I can no longer associate with him. Come on, he is friends with anti-Semitics. He's friends with white supremacists. He's friends with Holocaust deniers. Kanye West needs to get out of Donald Trump's corner. And look, for all my Trump supporting friends out there, look. You should agree with me. This is a bad move for the former president if he wants to win re-election. And look, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I think President Trump went ahead and announced too early. I understand I think he's done things that were not right, but at the same time, he was still one of the great, in my opinion, one of the greatest presidents out there. But this right here is it's bad. All right, so news broke in the last part of the week how Big Tech had their influence with the 2020 election. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that some people have hard feelings about the 2020 election. I believe there was rules changed and there was things that that benefited the Democrat Party in the 2020 cycle. I do agree with that. Was it rigged? Was it? I'm not going to get into that. That's old news. I don't like talking about this. But this came up right here. And this was done by yours truly's Attorney General, which I'm happy about. Look, Jeff Landry is 9 out of 10 going to run for he is running. He has announced he's running for governor of the great state of Louisiana. And look, I know some politicians. I have met a number of politicians that, especially the last cycle, we have some that are going to be planned for the beginning of the year, especially going into Louisiana's election races. I'm going to have some people running for state representatives. I'm going to have some people running for state senators. I'm going to have a lot of people that I'm planning on coming. I already talked to them, and they're like, yes, we want to come on. But Jeff Landry, and like I'm gonna be blunt, I am on the hunt to try to get Jeff Landry on this podcast. I'm hoping Jeff Landry, and look, Jeff, if you're listening to this, Attorney General, please return my phone calls. Come on the show. I would love to have you on. But on that ticket, Jeff Landry was one of these attorney generals, and this was from Fox News. This was done on Friday, the 2nd of December of 2022. FBI met weekly with big tech ahead of the 2020 elections. Agent testifies. Now, what is this about, ladies and gentlemen? Well, there were some conspiracies going around. Now it has been proven fact, according to these documents, that some in the government were, especially in the Biden administration, were helping censor certain stories. Now, this is all surrounding the Hunter laptop incident. Going back a couple in 2020, Hunter Biden brought his laptop to a computer guy to fix. Never went back and pick it up. Now this guy has tried to get in touch with him. He has tried to return the computer after so many days. The guy says, look, this is my computer now. This is payment for the repairs that I did on it. I'm going to wipe it out and I'm going to clean it. Well, when he opened it to go do everything he needed to do with it, a lot of damning information came out on the Bidens. Now, New York Times went ahead and reported on it, and Twitter and other big tech media accounts went ahead and suppressed the story. Because, in their words, this was Russian interference, or this was misinformation. Not all the information was there. And now, 2 years later, we're finding out a lot of truth about the Hunter Biden laptop. And now we're starting to see why they went ahead. Some in the Biden team, however, helped. Now, I'm going to get into that. I'm going to prove that point. But this is from Fox News, and this was written on December 2nd of 2022, like I said. And is exclusive, a FBI agent testified to Republican attorney generals this week that the FBI held weekly meetings with big tech company in Silicon Valley ahead of the 2020 election to discuss disinformation on social media and ask about efforts to censor that information. On Thursday, lawyers from the Office of Attorney General Eric Steckman of Missouri and Jeff Landry of Louisiana deposed FBI supervisor special agent Elvis Chin as part of their lawsuit against the Biden administration. That suit accused high-ranking government officials of working with giant social media companies under the gauze of combining misinformation to activate greater censorship. Chin, who served in the FBI special San Francisco Bureau, was questioned under oath by court order by his alleged critical role in conducting with social media platforms relating to censorship and suppressing of speech on their platform. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not good. During the desperation, Chin said that he, along with the FBI Foreign Investigative Task Force and senior cybersecurity and infraction security agency officials, had weekly meetings with major social media companies to warn against Russia's disinformation attempts ahead of the 2020 election, according to the source in the Missouri Attorney General's office. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was all in the name of Russian information. Now, ladies, this is where it comes to as well. Remember 2016? A lot of Democrats said, well, Donald Trump won the election because of Russia interference. And that Russia was colluding with Trump, which had come to find out through the special counsel, Robert Mueller, that this was not true. He did say, yes, Russia did try to influence our elections, but at the same time, Trump didn't know nothing about it. This was in special counsel Mueller's report. Took 2 years. They did not condemn Trump in anything. Isaac, why are you bringing this up about big tech? Because the next day, it was December 1st, not December 2nd. On Friday, December 2nd, Elon Musk drops a bombshell on the media. What am I talking about this? Well, this is according to the Daily Wire. And I was at a basketball game, a high school basketball game, when I saw this, ladies and gentlemen. Musk release Hunter Biden files. Twitter tweets deleted on behalf of Team Biden executives with key behind censorship decisions. Now, remember, these FBI agents, this was all in Trump's administration. This shows how far, as Trump would say, the deep state goes. Even Trump's administration or the people that were working under him did not want Donald Trump in there, so they were helping out. But this goes to a whole nother level now, because watch what Twitter CEO Elon Musk did. On Friday, he released information through journalist Matt Taibbi Friday afternoon, showing that Twitter was working in conjunction with the then Democratic president candidate Joe Biden's team, removing tweets that Team Biden wanted deleted. Musk said that he decided to release the information because it was necessary to restore public trust in the platform after it censored the New York Post. I said New York Times earlier, it was New York Post. Bombshell report about Hunter Biden's laptop just week before the 2020 presidential election. The reporter began by explaining that the company was slowly forced to add tools to control speech that were designed to combat the likes of spam and financial fraudsters. Slowly over time, Twitter staff and executives began to find more and more users for these tools. Ousters began protesting the company to manipulate speech as well. First a little, then more often than consistently, Taibbi said, the reporter. By 2020, requests from connected actors to deleted tweets were routed. One executive wrote to another, more to review from the Biden team. The reply would come back handled. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had Hillary Clinton helping with a FISA warrant and the PP story. Now we have, in the 2020 election, the Biden campaign team helping to censor speech on Hunter Biden. Now, did this play a role in the 2020 election? Yes, it did. There is news stories out there right now that people said if they would have known what Hunter Biden had on that laptop, they would not have voted for Joe Biden. And they would have voted for Donald Trump. And see, ladies and gentlemen, that is the whole nugget around this. Because, and look, people say, well, social media doesn't matter. Yes, it mattered in 2016. They didn't have censorship in 2016. And Donald Trump used Twitter, used Facebook, and every social media platform they had. And he got his message out there. He got the message of saying, make America great again. And people knew about him. Hillary Clinton didn't use that much social media. And the Democrats said, we cannot allow this to happen again. Our message needs to be heard. Our message needs to go out. Our message needs to be front and center. And stop anybody else that says otherwise. So, ladies and gentlemen, what happened right here shows that the former owners of Twitter and other big tech companies are in the pockets of the ding, ding, ding Democrats. Because Democrats wanted this all censored. It was Team Biden that was connecting with Twitter and saying, hey, take care of that. The New York Post, we cannot have that story out. Take that out. And it censored every other story. I remember that time, ladies and gentlemen, when you try to share something and you only see 1, 2, 3 views, you wonder what's going on. Big tech is in the pocket of the Democrat Party. Now let's go on with this story right here. It wasn't just Twitter executives or the Biden team. Apparently, they had some help from a former Clinton person. What am I saying? That Jim Baker, the former FBI lawyer involved in approving the faulty FISA warrant used to spy on Trump's campaign back in 2016, also helped censor the Hunter Biden laptop story, according to the series of tweets posted by Rolling Stone's contributor editor Matt Tabai. I hope I'm saying your name right, Matt, if you're listening. Twitter CEO Elon Musk released the so-called Twitter files Friday afternoon detailing how the social media platform suppressed a New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop in 2020. The Daily Calling News Foundation verified the authentication of the laptop soon after the New York Post published the story. The Twitter data release Friday showed executives working with the Biden officials to suppress the story. This is according to the reporter. Now, this is where it gets a little in the weeds right now, because we're starting to know who it was. Baker, who served as Twitter's deputy general consultant at the time, argued it was responsible to assume the material may have been hacked and said caution is warranted. According to the reporter's tweets, ladies, you see how he's saying this? According to the reporter, this man said, hey, we didn't know if this was true, so we're going to go ahead and censor it. We're going to take it out. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand you want to stop false information, but the New York Post, that is owned by the Fox News organization, that verified all this, ladies and gentlemen, all this was, and look, I understand the free speech argument. I understand that, well, you cannot, they shouldn't censor free speech. They should let, no, ladies and gentlemen, this was a viable story. This was verified by multiple news outlets. And look, it wasn't just social media. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't just social media. It was CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC. All the big news corporations did not report on this story. Because the first words out of the Biden administration's mouth was, oh, this is another Russian collusion to keep Donald Trump in office. But ladies and gentlemen, we're finding out here now, Jim Baker and others in Twitter helped censor this story. Why? It wasn't to keep America relevant to false news. It was to stop news from going forward about the Bidens. Because this would have crippled the Biden administration or the Biden's team. And Donald Trump, 9 out of 10, would have been president, because a lot of people, I've said this has been reported multiple times, that if this would have came out and people would have saw this, they wouldn't have voted for Biden. But it was suppressed. Why? It's the obvious reasons, and I'm just assuming right here, I guess, but through my research and through what I'm seeing here, Twitter wanted Biden to win. They didn't like Donald Trump. They didn't want Donald Trump to be president no more. So what they did was they hid a story and suppressed a story about a candidate's son. And because of it, possibly helped him to get into the White House. And ladies and gentlemen, you wonder why the American people are upset? The Democrat Party is suppressing news. Twitter is suppressing news. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is one of the reasons why the left did not want Elon Musk taking over Twitter. Because they knew Elon Musk would reveal the truth. And I'm glad he's keeping his promise. Because now we're starting to see this was all suppressed as well. Hey, as long as we're in the pockets of the Democrat Party and the Twitter's helping us, we're going to leave this alone. But now Elon Musk, to bring faith back into Twitter, is releasing files. And this is why people did not want to go on Twitter. This is why conservatives like myself did not sign up until Elon Musk took over. And ladies and gentlemen, this is damning to the Biden administration. Because it wasn't just Twitter making these decisions. No, they were getting advice and they were being led by the Biden team. And ladies and gentlemen, if this story would ever catch wind, this will be harmful to the Biden administration. With that being said, we'll be right back after this short break.
Cheers and good on you, boys and girls. My name is Scott Ford, and I have a show on Rumble. It's the Scott Ford Show, all in one word, the Scott Ford Show, and it's on Rumble. And I also have a motivational success show on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe and ring that bell. That would mean a lot to me. Enjoy your life. Thank you, Isaac. God bless.
You're my peace of mind when this old world seems to get me down.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the third and final segment of the Cajun Conservative Show. On the note of Twitter revealing this damning information about the Biden administration and what they did, or the Biden campaign team and what they did in helping Twitter or telling Twitter what to censor and what not to censor, has sparked backlash. According to now it has brought up. Let's see, it has brought up questions of the 2020 election again. And one of the biggest critics of the 2020 election was Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump being on the losing side of that, you know, he made claims that it was stolen from him and it was fraud and all this stuff. Now, never been proven. That point has been proven. Now, a lot of people might tell me, well, Isaac, what about 2,000 Mules? What about this? What about that? I understand all that. You can have your opinion. But as for saying facts like hard, concrete evidence, yeah, you can go point to 2,000 Mules. You can point to other documentaries and all that stuff. But in courts, you haven't said. Now, I remember reporting that it was all on merit. Oh, you don't have it wasn't on merit. It was on, oh, you don't have the right to question this, or you don't have in all the courts, because the Democrats will go ahead and say that. Well, it went through 60 court cases and it all cleared. There was nothing wrong. No, they didn't go on merit. The only one that went on merit, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court shot it down. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to prove something when you can't present your case. Or as this, you are being censored. I understand that. Like I said, it's Donald Trump. Look, I came with the realization. Donald Trump lost. By hook or by crook, I can't say. But at the same time, Donald Trump lost. Do I think there was irregularities in the 2020 election? Absolutely. Do I believe that 81 million people voted for Biden? I'm sorry, I don't. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's not an illegitimate president. No, he is. He swore his hand on the Bible. He's the president of the United States, unfortunately. But now this goes to the point of Donald Trump now. Donald Trump made a statement, and I disagree with him on. And ladies, I don't know why. I don't know if the Lord is revealing something to me, or I'm seeing things. I'm seeing a side of Donald Trump that I do not agree with. And I'm not campaigning against Donald Trump. I like Ron DeSantis, but if Ron DeSantis says something stupid, I'm gonna call him out and say he's stupid. Okay? But Trump made some statements. Now, this is according to Fox News, and the report is from Saturday, December 3rd. And the report is that Sunday, November 4th. The White House responds to Trump demanding to terminate parts of the Constitution after Trump's files release. We just talked about this. This whole file's coming up and showing how the Biden administration teamed up with Twitter. And this is articles. This is from Fox News and all this. So this is verified stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't contact me and say you're lying. No, I'm quoting you facts. I'm quoting you paperwork now. But Trump made a statement in response to the release of Twitter's files on Friday and a drive of documents dealing Twitter communications on censorship, Trump argued that the files show evidence of fraud and deception in the 2020 election, and went on to argue parts of the Constitution should be terminated to address it. This is Trump's quote from Truth Social. So with the revealing of massive and widespread fraud and deception and working closely with big tech companies and the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw a presidential election results of 2020 out and declare a rightful winner, or do you have a new election? Trump posted on social media. Problems with this post, ladies and gentlemen. One, this does not prove that there was voting fraud. This proves that there was collusion with big tech and the Democrat Party. That's it. And Twitter and the Democrat Party only cast 2 votes, apparently. Now, could it influence other votes? Absolutely, but this does not show voter fraud. This shows a good campaign to stop people from knowing the truth, but it does not show election fraud. I'm sorry for Donald Trump. He's also saying, do you throw the presidential election of 2020 out? No, you don't. 2020's done. And see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the bad thing about Trump. Trump is harping on 2020. He needs to stop on 2020. We just passed up a 2022 that was miserably disappointing. And one reason, this is something I'm going to throw out here. This is probably why the Republican Party suffered in 2022. Why? Because, 2020, and I'm tired of hearing Republicans talk about 2020. It's in the past. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry I'm getting angry with this, but every time I hear, 2020. Look, if we have investigations, we find out new information, I will come on this mic and I will tell it. But my whole podcast and my whole media company is not going to go ahead and harp on 2020. I'm looking forward to 2023 with the Louisiana elections. I'm looking to 2024. And I understand Donald Trump hearing this. He might get upset. He might get angry. Yes, and all the cards are held against him. I understand that. But 2020 is in the past. It's in the rearview mirror. Leave it alone. And look, I know I'm probably going to get some of y'all listeners upset. I'm sorry. But that's how I feel right now. And I've been bringing this point. This ain't something new. I just light bulb moment now. I said this a couple of years ago. Well, a couple of podcasts ago. Let's say it like that. When I was driving home in a dump truck and I saw Trump 2024 and I was before the 2022 elections. And I'm like, golly, man, we got 2022 to worry about. Let's not worry, but now we can shift our focus to 2024. The midterms are done and they're not even done yet. We got Herschel Walker running in Tuesday for our Senate seat that we need to win. Let's worry about 2022's elections. And then we can move forward to 2024 nationally. Let's throw out the 2020. No, 2020 is done. The president's there. You can't throw out a president like that. Or do you have a new election? No, you don't have a special election for that. This was Trump's post on his social media account. A massive fraud of this type and modality shows for the termination of all rules, regulation, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. He continued, our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. I agree with you. The founding fathers wouldn't. That's why they put guidelines in the Constitution so it wouldn't happen. But to terminate rules and regulations and even some parts of the Constitution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm paraphrasing, and this is what I'm reading on this. This is why I read all Trump's posts. See, ladies and gentlemen, the Constitution says that states determine the laws of the elections in their states. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a federal election. We have small states elections. And we send them to the White House, or we send them to Capitol Hill, and our representatives represent our votes of the majority and say, hey, this is who we want for president of the United States. That's how the Constitution has it written out. This is why the Electoral College is so important. But apparently Donald Trump wants to take that all out. Now, I hate to tell Donald Trump, imagine this. Imagine this scenario. Oh, well, Well, we're going to make it one big federal election. Well, first off, you're going against the Constitution. Maybe that's why he said we need to take that out. And if he says that, if he meant that, that's wrong. But imagine it's a big federal election and the Democrat Party had their way. All the mail-in boxes that I disagree with, all the no voting ID, all that would have been passed in 2020 or 2021 when the new Congress took in. Because remember, I think it was H.R. 5 when it was the Lewis bill. You know what stopped that? The Constitution. Because the Constitution says you can't go over a filibuster. Our tradition of the Senate, you can't go over a filibuster. Our Constitution say that. Trump don't know what he's talking about right here. I understand the emotions. I understand that. But ladies and gentlemen, now the White House struck back at what he said. And they told him the American Constitution is a sacred document that for over 200 years has guaranteed that freedoms and rules of laws, privilege in our great country. The Constitution brings the American people together regardless of parties. And an elected leader sworn to uphold it, White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates said in a statement. Now, like I said, a broken clock is right twice a day. On that note, now Liz Cheney has been coming out and she's been saying stupid stuff. She says Trump is the enemy of the Constitution after he proposed to terminate it. Now, I'm gonna grill her statement because Representative Liz Cheney called former President Trump an enemy of the Constitution on Sunday after he suggests considering termination of the Constitution on Saturday. First off, he did not say he wanted to terminate the whole Constitution. He said parts of the Constitution. And see, this is how liberals and rhinos act. He wants to terminate the whole Constitution. He never said that. And I disagree with Donald Trump saying we should take away those rights. Has like in history, has the Constitution been amended? Yes. The 14th Amendment, and you had the 25th Amendment was added. You had all that added in there. The Electoral College votes amendment was altered. But it wasn't terminated. But according to Liz Cheney, he's an enemy of the Constitution and he wants to terminate it. He didn't say terminate the Constitution. He said terminate parts of it. And this is why you go and you read statements. Kinslinger, the other Republican that was on the January 6th committee and also voted to also went on the January 6th and also voted to impeach Donald Trump. Not a single conservative could legitimately support him, and not a single supporter can be called a conservative. This is insane. Kinslinger, you're a rhino. You're a Democrat in Republican form. And you're calling us insane? And you also had a couple of others come out. Let's see. I'm trying to find. I think I want to see Kevin McCarthy. I think Kevin McCarthy brought. Kevin McCarthy, who's seeking to be the next Speaker of the House, was not asked about Trump's remark in appearance on Sunday morning's future, but was sympathetic to the underlying assessment at the heart of Trump's attack. He accused that big tech worked to censor reports and misdeeds of Hunter Biden, son of President candidate Joe Biden, in the weeks before the 2020 presidential election. So he wasn't brought about it, but he said this: think about the timeline of when this was right before the election, just a couple of weeks. A reminder how close this election was. So, ladies and gentlemen, he didn't go ahead and make anything about it or whatever. But now the Democrats are swearing up and down, we need to get rid of Donald Trump. He wants to take away the Constitution. He never said that. He said we need to change parts of it, which I disagree with him on as well. So this right here, ladies and gentlemen, look, I know what like I said, emotions are were cramping in Donald Trump. I promise you, to write a post like this. But ladies and gentlemen, he needs to stop. 2020's happened. You have a 2024 election you have to worry about. And Liz Cheney needs to worry about going back to Wyoming on her big, fancy $1 million ranch. And not worry about politics. The American people spoke about you. They want you gone. Especially in Wyoming. All right, I got one more story I want to cover, and it's an opinion on my part. So Democrats this week elected Representative Hakeem Jeffries to succeed Pelosi as House Leader. So, like Kevin McCarthy is the leader of the Republican Party. He won the votes for that. Will he still be Speaker of the House? He needs 218 votes. I think he's going to get it. I did read one article of a prominent Democrat going on these news networks, and they do this all on Sundays, where they in these studios and Fox News, they all have them. But they go ahead and they talk, and one Democrat said, Kevin McCarthy should work with the Democrats to become House Speaker. If this fool does that, he should not be House Speaker. Kevin McCarthy dealing with the Democrat Party, because this happened in Louisiana, by the way. Louisiana, I think it's Paige Cortez is the Senate leader, and I can't think of the other guy's name. But to become the Senate president of Louisiana, the Republicans had a good conservative, and the Democrats were like, well, we're not going to vote. Well, one guy that wanted to be in there said, hey, you know what? Black Caucus and the Democrat Party, would y'all vote me in? And they said, absolutely. And guess what happened when they voted him in? He has been siding more with the Democrat Party than he has been with the Republican Party. National Republicans. If you're a politician of any kind in Washington, D.C., please listen to me. Look at the example of Louisiana. Louisiana has a majority House and a almost majority, supermajority Senate. And the Republicans can't get diddly squat done in Louisiana. You know why? Some Republicans in the state of Louisiana made deals with the Democrat Party. Now they tell them, hey, if you want to stay in that position, you got to do what we say. And this is going to happen with Kevin McCarthy if he goes and sides with the Democrats. If he says, look, I can't get 5 Republican votes, which the final tally is probably going to be 222 Republicans. If he can't get 5 Republican votes and goes to the Democrat Party and asks for them 5 votes and they give it to him, the Democrat Party will own Kevin McCarthy. Mark my words. But he is a Republican leader. Going back to Hakeem Jeffries. This is making stories because Hakeem Jeffries is the first African American to hold leadership position like this in America. And all the news outlets are talking about how history was made. Now, he was on George Stephanopoulos' show today, and that was the first words that came out of his mouth, was this is a historical thing. This is the problem with Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries is an extreme leftist and progressive. He wants to change this nation and make this nation a socialistic country. How do I know this? If you go look at his votes and his way of thinking. Also, if you go ahead and look at Hakeem Jeffries, he just isn't a progressive and a leftist. He's also an election denier. What you mean, Isaac? Well, he said that President Trump was not the legitimate president of 2016. Now, if you would say that about, well, he can still say it because if he says it now, they won't censor him. But if you say something like that about Joe Biden, you're off Twitter. You're off Facebook. You're off any social media platform. But Hakeem Jeffries has a lot of skeletons in his closet. But what does the media push? This great historic man, the first black African man to be House leader of a political party. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you this right now. The Democrat Party is more worried about, listen to this, the Democrat Party is more worried about making history instead of helping the American people. This man will not help America. He will he will try to destroy America. Oh, Isaac, you putting words in. No, by his policy and by his voting record, he will hurt America. But they want this to be leader. They want him to be leader because, this is the first African American man to be leader of a political party. And they made history. And you notice this, and look at Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is a bad candidate, but she's the first African American and also the first woman to be the vice president of the United States, made history. Destroying the country, but she made history. Barack Obama, with all his policies and a lot of them bad, all wiped away because he was the first African American president. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all they're worried about is history. Now, when Republicans make history, the media don't show it. The lieutenant governor of Virginia, Miss Sears, was the first woman of color to be the lieutenant governor of Virginia. History breaking. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the first woman governor of Arkansas, and her lieutenant governor. And this is the first time in Arkansas history that 2 women are going to run the government in Arkansas. History making. You don't hear from the mainstream media. Why? Because they want their side to be all historic. They want their side to be the trailblazers. While those trailblazers are not trailblazing us to a path of victory and a path of prosperity. No, they're bringing us to a path of destruction. And for Democrats to go ahead and push history-making moments, they're putting in bad candidates that they do not have a bright future for America. They want to bring down America. And they want to bring this to a socialistic country where they stay in power and they have all the control. All the control. With that being said, we have run out of time for this episode of the Cajun Conservative Show. Again, glad that you got a chance to spend some time with me today. If you have any questions or concern, please leave a comment at the bottom. If you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, or whatnot, or if you want to send me an email, thecajunconservative5@gmail.com. Please remember to go follow me on TikTok, go follow me on Twitter, go follow me on Facebook, and go ahead and subscribe and like on the platform you are listening on. Remember, Jesus is coming back, and he's coming back soon. So don't be faint of heart, because Jesus has overcome the world, and you must remember, Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world. So if you want to know Jesus as your Savior and make heaven your home, shoot me an email, and I'll tell you how to make Jesus your Savior and heaven your home. Until next time, be blessed, be encouraged. You have a good one. See you Thursday morning.